Step 1. Opening moves. Citizenship in the 21st century requires more than paying your taxes and voting, and occasionally running for office. That even if you're never in political office, you have political responsibilities. You can make your society stronger and better. Bill Clinton. Running for office is never an easy task. Even for the skilled hand, you will face a hard road ahead. For the novice, it may seem an overwhelming task. However, do not give up. Running for office can be an achievable goal. That is, if you know how. This book will help you meet your goal. I'm going to provide you with pointers on navigating the hurdles of running for office. I'm going to share with you the knowledge of planning a successful run for public office. One disclaimer: this book is meant for a run at local office. Running for state or federal office is similar, but each have their own unique circumstances that are different from one running for their local office and serving under their city council or school board, for example. Also, this book is geared towards nonpartisan races. If the seat you are seeking requires the nomination of a political party, which is a possibility in some larger cities, this might not be the how-to guide for you. However, you could possibly glean some useful tips and advice from this guide. Before we start, let me tell you a little about myself. I've been a political junkie all my life. I volunteered for Democratic Congressman Charlie Wilson's re-election campaign while in high school. In 1994, while a senior at West Orange Stark High School, I ran for my first elected position. Running for a spot on the school board seat gave me my first taste of the candidate role. I came in fifth in a close 5-candidate race, with only 210 votes separating me from the winner. Not bad for a high school senior, with a $26 budget and no clue how to run a race with myself as the candidate. I then switched to the Republican Party for the 1996 race and volunteered for the Republican candidate challenging for the now open seat due to Wilson's decision to step down. An interesting thing about this election was that the Republican candidate I worked for would be the Republican I ran against in the 2014 congressional race. He lost, and that ended my involvement in congressional races for over a decade. A new century saw my attitudes change. I switched to the Libertarian Party, but found a new focus on local elections. Between 1998 and 2012, I participated and helped in the campaigns of over 100 local candidates. Looking back, I believe about 60% of them won their elections. In 2012, redistricting in Texas saw my hometown in a new congressional district. The Republican frontrunner was a candidate that had served before, but was defeated after being exposed in several white supremacist and anti-government groups. The Democrat was not much better. So I decided to file as a Libertarian for office. I learned a very important lesson from this. Do not run for a third party if you want to win an election. The voters and the donors do not take you seriously. As expected, I came in third, taking about 3% of the vote. Not bad for a year that was highly charged with the national politics of the presidential election. The Republican won on a straight party line vote, doubling my and the Democrats' combined votes. I decided after that race that running again for office would not be smart. However, the best laid plans of mice and men saw that end quickly. I had lost my foot earlier due to complications to my diabetes and a foot infection. That meant that health care was foremost on my mind. I did not originally support Barack Obama. I felt that just a couple of years in the United States Senate was not enough experience to become president. I also had my doubts about his plans to fix an economy in recession, and some of his health care ideas I thought were too pie in the sky for my tastes. By 2013, the ideas behind the Affordable Care Act and how he handled himself as president had won me over. The anti-government rhetoric of the Republican and Libertarian parties had turned me off. I decided to go back to my roots and rejoin the Democratic Party. At that time, my idea was to support local candidates for office and party building. Fast forward a few months later, and I opened my big mouth at the wrong event, meaning I was now a Democratic candidate for the 36th Congressional District of Texas. This election taught me valuable lessons in planning, messaging, and packaging in 21st century elections. These were not the elections of the 80s and 90s. The election was in the new digital age, an age that, unless you raise tons of cash, you are not going to win. As I stated earlier, in 1996 I volunteered for the campaign of a Republican candidate, but now found myself the Democratic nominee against the very man I had helped. I will say that the race was polite, and we never personally attacked one another. Once again, I lost, but gained valuable insight that would help me in 2016. 2016, my last race to date. I had moved to a new city and grounded myself within the neighboring congressional district. My supporters and I looked at the district and the issues that would dictate the election and decided that the incumbent was vulnerable. Another valuable lesson I learned was that a plan on paper may look good, but it is no guarantee of success or even of the dedication of that candidate. We didn't count on Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. More than anything, the national election polarized the congressional elections. Local issues that were popular to the voters became secondary. We did come close. Had about 15,000 votes gone the other way, it would have been a victory. Since then, I have helped on the campaigns of 4 local candidates. 3 of these won, and 1 did not. I have dedicated myself to helping local candidates win elections, and that is what this book is about. Thanks. Before we go any further, I want to thank you for even contemplating running for office. This is not an easy decision to make, and will be a tough road ahead for you. But for the good of our nation and communities, it is necessary for us to be involved in the system, to participate, not only as informed voters, but as candidates for office. We cannot improve the nation and our lives if we remain apathetic to the system. For you even contemplating this, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now, let's look at the decision to run for office. I want you to enter this race with the right mindset and for the right reasons. There are many reasons that will dictate your final decision, but I want to toss out a few things to consider. The road ahead. You cannot decide to run at the last moment and expect to be successful. This should not be a spur-of-the-moment choice. It takes planning, and most of all, time. Remember, you will not be the only one running for office. Your family and friends will be in some way affected by your decision. The second you decide to run for office, your life will change. Everything you do, everything you say, everything your family does or says is open to public scrutiny. It sounds completely unfair, but those are the breaks. You will no longer be able to dress down when you leave the house. You must now dress appropriately and appear to be a pillar of the community wherever you go. This does not mean you will always have to wear a suit, but you will not have another casual day for quite a while. Even going to the store for a couple of items means you need to be dressed like you were going to work, because, in a sense, you are. As a local official, you work for the community, and your neighbors are your prospective employers. You may hate it, but you are being interviewed for that job everywhere you go. You will need to watch what you say in public and on social media. You are being watched. It's funny when you think about it. You are running for office in a nation that values the ideals of freedom of speech. But you must censor what you say. Every Facebook or Twitter post will be scrutinized. If you post anything that might cause a bit of controversy, be ready to have that used against you. My advice to you regarding social media accounts is that the second you decide to run, forget that you have any personal accounts. Set the privacy levels as high as possible, and delete anything that might be considered a problem for your race. As you can see with Donald Trump and his Twitter account, you can put yourself in a big bind if you're not careful. The safest course of action is to exercise the right to remain silent on your personal accounts. This will also include your immediate family and their social media accounts. It may sound hypocritical and unfair, but things posted by close family members may also face scrutiny. If you have an underage child who posts himself having a drink with friends at a party, your opponents could frame that as you not teaching your children values, as well as enforcing that your children do not participate in illegal activities. If your wife or husband goes on a Facebook rant, you can bet people will share it and say that you agree with them just by you being in the spouse role. That brings me to my next piece of advice on the road ahead. Make sure that your spouse is 100% on board. Your spouse can be your most important asset if they are on board with your run. There are days ahead that you will rue the day you decided to run for public office. A sympathetic spouse can help you survive it without going nuts or even deciding to give up. You will also need to make sure they understand that their behavior till the election will affect your chances. The voters judge your electability just as much or more so on your appearance of being a happy family as the issues. As far as friends, make sure that your stances publicly on the issues are the same as your backroom talk with your friends. I cannot tell you how many candidates I've seen lose a race because they bantered with friends in private saying one thing and then said something totally different in public. You might think that your friends may not betray your confidence, but never assume that. Your position taken privately in front of friends will get out, and heaven help you if that public and private position does not reconcile. Never assume that family or friends will remain loyal in the political arena. The road ahead will be bumpy. You will make mistakes. You're only human. With the proper planning, you can minimize the number of mistakes you make and do damage control on the ones you do make. In everything, I offer this advice on campaigning. Run scared or run unopposed. Also, I would add this. Make this decision quickly. Do not wait till the filing deadline to decide to run. Ideally, you want to start at least a year before the election. You can do it in 8 or 9 months, even 6 if you are dedicated. But anything less than 4 months, and I would say hold off till the next cycle. This is not a weekend plan. It takes time to set up and execute. The risk and the reward. As you just read, there are dangers ahead should you decide to run. I wanted to give you an idea of the road ahead. Never trust someone that tells you that running for office is a sure thing or easy. They are either lying to you or have no clue. I hope that the last section did not scare you away, but I am not going to sugarcoat it. There are risks, but also rewards. One risk is that you may have to take a stand on an issue that many people may not like. Sticking to your guns on the issues will alienate people that you know, and some you do not know. Friends that you have had for years may decide they want nothing more to do with you because you suddenly find yourselves on different sides of an issue. I have had several childhood friends avoid me or make it quite clear over the last few years we were no longer friends due to opposing views on various issues. You will approach friends that have the money to donate and time to volunteer to your campaign who will refuse to give either. This might make you scratch your head and wonder who your true friends are. You will need to be comfortable with asking friends, family, and complete strangers to donate money. Be willing to beg everyone for financial support. You will spend money. It is not a requirement to be rich to run for office. Many people who are middle and even lower income have run successful campaigns. But you will invest a lot of your own money, and even more of your own time. You may also need the courage to not take money from dubious sources. This will tax your moral courage and dedication to winning. The relationship between you and your family may become strained and difficult. Unfortunately, I've seen many marriages cast upon the rocks during a campaign. Running for office will force you at times to push your family to second place over the needs of the campaign. There will be recriminations, arguments, and more over the course of the race. Also, make sure that your boss is aware of your decision to run for office. Some companies have policies against their employees being publicly vocal in politics or choosing to run for candidacy. Government employees are forbidden to be a candidate themselves or to endorse another candidate. Your employer could catch flack from your run for office. So you need to understand that potentially you are risking your employment by running. You cannot use the elected office to enrich yourself. Many local elected positions do not pay more than a per diem. And of course, the government and the people take a very dim view of taking bribes or other favors. You will spend lots of time studying the issues in seminars and trainings and other meetings. Everywhere you go in public, you will meet someone that has an issue with local government, a complaint, or an idea. A simple stop at McDonald's will become an ordeal at times. Now, before the risks become too overwhelming, let's talk about some of the rewards you'll also experience. If improving your community is your passion and drive, you will have the opportunity to make positive changes for the future. You will make new friends and get to meet many new people you otherwise would not have had the opportunity to meet. Personally, my campaigns for office allowed me to make new friends all over Southeast Texas that have enabled my growth as a person. My life is much better for having met them. You will see and experience brand new areas and things that you otherwise may not have had the opportunity to. I saw small towns in an area that I did not even know existed, and was able to learn about the history of that area, including the people who live there. If you look at it, running for office has many risks, and the rewards are more abstract than concrete. Getting those rewards may be tough work, but it will be worth it. When that first voter looks at you and thanks you for standing up for them, you will understand what all that hard work was for and why you ran. The event that stands out the most to me took place in 2016. I got a $1 donation from an older gentleman along with an attached note. It read, "Mr. Cole, I am a veteran of Korea and Vietnam. I worked for the port here in Galveston till I retired. My pension is not too big and I'm on a fixed income and have many medical bills. This is all I can afford to give, but I believe in you." That was, to this day, my most cherished donation. In that instant, I understood why I ran for office. You will have moments of your own exactly like that. It will help you keep going through those bad times. Like I said, it will be hard, but in the end, it will be worth it. Read this book completely before launching into your campaign. I've tried to keep the tone friendly, yet informative. You will read plenty of other items once the campaign starts that will be droll and boring. This is not meant to be an end-all guide. There will be some things I suggest that will not work in your race. There will be ideas that your team puts together that are fresh, new, and inventive. Do not be afraid to try new things and do your research. It is better to make an informed choice than a bad one. Above all, be yourself. The people are wanting to elect you, not who you tried to convince them you are so you can win.